we have one caller on the line, so if you guys both want to respond to him, that's going to take up 2 minutes right there. So this is basically going to be the last caller that we can take for this debate. We have Kareem from the USA. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you for the question. And I was watching the debate, a very good debate from both sides. But my question would be to Jonathan.
Okay.
That if you're if you're saying that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not prophesied in the Old Testament, and that's why you reject him, then my question is to you: where is the Apostle Paul? And if he is not in the Old Testament, then why do you accept him? And that's my question.
The problem with this argument is that we read in the Quran, specifically in Surah 7, verse 157, that Muhammad is prophesied in the Torah and the Injil. There's no claim on the part of the New Testament that Paul is prophesied in the Old Testament. There is claim, however, that Jesus is prophesied in the Old Testament. And so we have good reason, I think, to believe that Jesus is prophesied in the Old Testament. As Isaiah 2:13 to Isaiah 15:12, for example, is a clear prophecy concerning Jesus the Messiah. Daniel 7:13-14, the Son of Man vision of Daniel, he beholds the Son of Man who actually is the Messiah. And there's many other texts as well. Malachi 3 predicts the Messiah, who's clearly Jesus. But there's no reason to think that Paul would be predicted in the Old Testament, because there's no claim in the New Testament that he was predicted in the Old Testament. So that would be my response to that.
Okay, Akil, do you want to have one last minute?
Yeah, why not? First, I think what happens, and I don't know if it's maybe with a connection or maybe Jonathan is just not dealing with the question directly, with all due respect. But the guy was asking you, why do you believe in Paul? If you're saying Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not in the Bible, and you reject him on that premise, then why do you believe in Paul? What's the purpose? What's the reason you believe in Paul? Is he prophesied about? He claimed, to speak of Jesus. It's all a claim. You're saying Muhammad made a claim, Paul made a claim. So if you're going to look at Prophet Muhammad's claim and say, okay, well, for this reason we reject him, then use the same criteria to look at Paul, and he will also have to be rejected. But on what basis do you believe in Paul? How do you affirm Paul as being who he says it is, other than looking at him and seeing, that, okay, I accept him for what he says? Why? For no other reason other than he has books of the New Testament? Why do you actually believe in Paul? Why do you actually confirm Paul? Who authorized people to believe in Paul and say he's actually from Jesus like that? Did he prove himself to be the case? So this is the question that Christians have to answer. Why do you actually believe in Paul and reject Muhammad using the same principle?
Thank you. We do find that Paul encountered the risen Lord on the road to Damascus, and no one else encountered him on the road to Damascus. And that is part of what we find in the New Testament, the gospel. And that is something that is important that all people need to hear, that Jesus died for our sins according to the Scriptures, that he was buried, and that he rose from the dead on the third day according to the Scriptures, and that he had many witnesses who witnessed him alive after that. And here on the Trinity Channel, we have many shows not only proclaiming the gospel to the world, but defending the historic Christian faith. And part of what we do here are debates like this one. So it was a blessing to have Jonathan McClatchy and Akil Onkyu here to debate the question, what does the Quran say about the Bible? This video will be available on the Trinity Channel's YouTube channel probably within the next hour or so.